So, it should go without saying that for the past week, everyone on the internet has been talking about the effects of violence in media, violence in video games, violence in movies, and how it doesn't necessarily correlate to real life violence. In fact, if you were to look at any study from the past decade on the effects of violent media and the world, there is no correlation. Just because there is a sort of connection between the two, like there's violence in art and violence in real life, that does not mean it causes it. It just doesn't cause it. And the last time I've seen an article like this was all the way back in 2013, 2014, when Sony Pictures, when they were hacked from the Sony, hacking and whatnot, they were going to be releasing a film called The Interview, which was a spoof comedy about a bunch of dumb people going to North Korea to interview the North Korean president. And it was going to make him look like a pretty, big bumbling idiot. And what did Sony Pictures do in the face of a threat of nuclear annihilation? They just pulled it from distribution to be put onto Netflix, where everyone could still watch it. And no one really gave a shit, because it's not even that great of a movie. So it comes at no surprise that with these recent distractions from the real issues at hand when it comes to the gun debate and whatnot, that they switched their focus to a movie called The Hunt. Now, if you don't know anything about this film, let me relay the sort of plot synopsis, I guess, because I did see the trailer for it. It was supposed to be a sort of thriller about a group of people who wake up in a field that they don't know where they are. They have these things on them, yada yada yada, and they're being hunted by a group of elites or rich people, right? And so they have to survive, and there's one of them that actually knows what the game really is. So this person has to go after these hunters one by one to try to get to this mastermind of sorts and try to figure out what the hell's going on. And that's basically the movie. Some people didn't see it that way. So, as it says here in the Hollywood Reporter, Universal scraps The Hunt release following gun violence uproar. The studio's decision came a day after President Trump took aim at the film, saying it was made to inflame and cause chaos. The story follows a group of elites hunting down deplorables for sport. Now, see, here's the thing. Here's the key word here. So, Universal has decided to scrap the release of The Hunt, an R-rated satire. I believe we are now living in a world where people don't know what the word satire really means. And that when it comes to reading just a plot synopsis and not actually take into account what the film is trying to go for, people automatically claim it to be a certain thing, right? Whether it be harmful to society or whatnot. Like, there's certain films that I think are just completely trash that really do denigrate things, like The Trump Prophecy or Hillary's America, or, even that really stupid anti-abortion bill, that stupid anti-abortion movie, and I can't remember what it was called. It was really stupid. Unplanned, that's what it was. It was a very bad movie. Those are harmful because they misrepresent a lot of information, and they purposely, they're made in the sense of, oh, we're doing the right thing. Whereas a movie like The Hunt is supposed to be a satire. It's not a documentary. It's not trying to convince you of anything. It's a satire. And it's so stupid. It was supposed to be hitting theaters September 27th. The studio's Saturday announcements came a day after Donald Trump took aim at the film, though he didn't name it by title, and Hollywood saying it on Twitter, quote, "Liberal Hollywood is racist at the highest level, and with great anger and hate. They like to call themselves elite, but they are not elite. In fact, it is often the people that they are so strongly opposing that are actually the elite." Well, I mean, most people in Hollywood are liberally minded, so it's technically the rich who are the elite, which is Trump and a bunch of other billionaires. I mean, granted, again, there's billionaires already in Hollywood, so it's kind of a weird, slap in the face, but I don't know. So, and it's so stupid. In fact, it is often, okay. The movie coming out is made in order to inflame and cause chaos. They create their own violence and then try to blame others for it. They are the true racists and are very bad for our country. Alright, so this is what Universal said in the statement. So, while Universal Pictures had already paused the marketing campaign for The Hunt after thoughtful consideration, the studio has decided to cancel our plans to release the film, the studio said in Saturday's statement. We stand by our filmmakers and will continue to distribute films in partnership with bold and visionary creators, like those associated with this satirical social thriller, but we understand that now is not the right time to release the film. See, there's two problems with this. One is that this is going off of the assumption that we need to be in respecting mode for the victims of El Paso and Dayton, and that's true. We should be a little bit respectful for that. But, again, like this article says, this does come off the heels of what President Trump said about not necessarily this film in particular, but because of what it is. And granted, maybe they are having such a good heart to say, hey, you know, maybe this isn't the right time because this might inflame some people to, I don't know, like, not buy into our movie. I don't know. But I find something like this, a satirical social thriller about this topic, to be very relevant to the situation. Very eerily relevant. But the biggest problem is that violence happens on a daily basis. So should we just scrap every single violent movie ever in existence from now until eternity because violence is inherently human nature and America's the only unique problem of gun violence only happens in America? So should every violent movie ever produced by Hollywood only be given out to international markets and not America at all? I mean, that's just stupid. It's a very stupid proposition. It's the same proposition as what EA has been doing with Apex Legends. They were supposed to have this invitational this weekend, but they decided to cancel it because, you know, they were trying to be sensible to the victims of El Paso and Dayton. That's fine, but it distracts from the real issues. Instead of actually talking about the issues at hand, which are the topics of gun violence and regulation and other such things, you know, including monitoring the internet for white nationalism and other such things, we're dealing with this. But yeah, the second issue with this is that this is definitely political censorship in all intents and purposes. When you have a bunch of people, you know, who is rallying behind the president, who's making comments about, I mean, granted, he didn't necessarily say this film, but you can definitely read into it that it was this film in particular. You know, when you have all that, you know, this is the same thing that Mike Cernovich did when firing James Gunn. Now, since then, he's been rehired and they've reconsidered all that. But pulling a film for political reasons is really bad. It makes you look very weak by comparison, that you're not necessarily really behind, you know, these filmmakers that continue to distribute films in partnership with bold and visionary creators. It doesn't really make you seem like you're actually behind that statement when you're automatically pulling a film because of certain things like that. So there's this whole, I don't get how some people can just look at the media and say, oh, this is your fault. This is your fault because you put violence in TV and on movies and in video games. It's like, violence has been around everywhere. Not just on Earth, but in reality itself. Everything's violent. Violence is part of real life. And unfortunately, so far at least, no one's been able to nudge a finger to try to alleviate some of these issues of violence on Earth. But everywhere else, there is violence. Natural disasters can be violent. Black holes are violent. Supernovas are violent. Asteroid attacks are violent. Accretion between two planets is violent. The lack of atmosphere in space can be violent if you don't have a necessary precaution suit or space suit that keeps all the air pressurized inside of the suit to keep you breathing normally. And even before mankind existed, dinosaurs were violent. You can't tell me that, nowadays a shark eating a dolphin is not violent. Violence is everywhere. And again, as much as I have said it before, and I'll say it again, art is not the issue. Sure, there may be some coincidences when it comes to people. Oh, yeah, this person who did the shooting played Call of Duty. Ooh, that means video games are violent. No. It's like if someone else tried to kill someone and then they go through the person's apartment and found My Little Pony toys. Oh, did My Little Pony convince him to try to take a knife to someone? No. Correlation does not mean causation. And unfortunately, we are as lost on that concept as satire is. So that's all I really have to say about this topic. I think it's really stupid that Universal, while saying that they are in support of filmmakers and getting behind visionary creators, would pull a film for distribution all because of politics. You do know that violence is not going to stop by pulling films from media shelves. It's not going to stop. It's like the whole thing with Walmart. Oh, you're going to pull down advertisements of violent video games and pull footage of violent movies off of your TV screens and in hunting clips off of your sporting goods section. Hey, why not just, maybe not sell guns in a Walmart? I mean, that's... Again, I have no real answer to the issue of gun control, the gun debate and whatnot, but these things are all distractions from that. So don't buy into this, like I did. So that's all I really have to say. This whole thing is stupid. Universal needs to reconsider their statements. Because honestly, once you give in to censorship like this, it's all downhill. Because more and more things will be pulled from distribution because certain people will be, up in arms about it. Oh, this movie has this thing in it. Oh, we gotta pull it from shelves because, people don't want to see something like that. Ooh, that's just censorship. This would be going all the way back to the Hays Code. And if you don't know what the Hays Code is, it was a whole thing back in the early 1920s, all the way up towards the 50s and 60s, when it came to, the visualization of people in general. Like, you couldn't have a sex scene. The only sort of romantic stuff you could have is maybe a kiss and a hug, and that's it. You couldn't have, like, vulgarness. You couldn't be expressive with the characters. It had to be a certain type of person. It's a terrible system. And once we bring that back into it, it's game over. So, that's all I really have to say.